Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Future Friday, we're going to talk about a very hot topic, that is Trump versus renewables. So let's dive deep into it. Now, the biggest source you can get out of this, like as in the context, is in Joe Rogan Experience 2020 to 19. Basically, Trump had a 3 hour freaking talk there. Now, you have to understand this. When you're talking with someone, you cannot maintain facade for a very long time. It's very ludicrously taxing. And if this guy can maintain that sort of facade, that high caliber of facade for that long, yeah, just give him the job. Just give him the job. So fundamentally, we got to see inside his head for 3 hours. However, you have to understand, for many people, it would be very common because, again, if you are directly consuming him as he is, he's been the same from 1980s, before, when he was in TV shows with Will Smith and all that. So fundamentally, he has not changed. We just got the luxury of looking inside his head. And yes, there is a absolutely brutal basically assassination of his character in the media, which basically made him immune. Because here's the deal, you cannot call someone convicted felon if you are already comparing him to hey. Like if you are already hey, what does anything mean? So let that be very clear. That's why you have to be very mindful with the words you use. Words are like a tool. Like if you do it properly, it's a good tool. If you do not, he becomes the president. So, and again, if he can manage a facade for 3 hours directly talking to Joe Rogan, oh, it's not that hard. Trust me, try it. Try it. Talking with anyone. Have a camera, talk with anyone for 3 hours. Trust me, you'll find out things about yourself. So sources are there, and we got to see his worldview. Now, he does not believe in global warming. Let that be very clear. Get it out of the system very quickly. But why that is and how he is going about it and why people support him, let's figure that part out. So there are certain facts here. Now you have to understand that's another reason why he won. Like people did not give him the benefit of the doubt, but unfortunately people who did watch him, or fortunately they watched him, they're like, dude is talking sense. So one of the most core fundamental of anything is that Mach 1 is always garbage. Let that be very clear. If you're like, okay, Falcon 9 is super awesome, no, it's garbage. That's why Starship does not look like Falcon 9. It's completely different. That's why instead of landing on a barge, they are directly capturing it because it's much cheaper. Yes, it's cheaper in long term. Running cost is much lower. So there are many things. It will always be like that. If you're like, okay, we built 3G phone, it's the best phone ever. Hopefully the next phone will be better. That's the whole point of it. So Mach 1 is always garbage, and there is always penalty of that. So early farms, this is what Donald Trump saw with his own eye, because we remember Donald Trump is basically, he was born when we were not independent, as in India was not independent. So he has seen things. You cannot downplay that. He has seen things. So what he has seen is a lot of wind farms being created in 90s. There was a push right around the time after the whiplash of basically oil embargo. There was a lot of hunger to identify sources that USA can use to safeguard. Wind was a very early stage what you call solution, so to say, and people went YOLO on it. And Trump saw this. This is during his time. He must have been aware of it. He must have been seeing it. Things were there. Now here's the many wind farms were made early days. Like if you see very old design of wind farm, that's in America generally. So a lot of them were made, but again, as any boom event, generally there is a lot of company and most of them go bankrupt. That did happen. That's a factual thing. And a lot of stuff of them were left to rot, meaning there was no company alive in order to go them, deconstruct them and recycle the materials or scrap it properly. Nothing was done. They just left to rot. And that caused a lot of bird harm, the turbine itself. The best argument I've seen why the heck that is happening is like apparently birds evolved an ecosystem of free floating, meaning they have 2D view of the ground, but no view of the sky. Meaning, if a eagle that is going shwee, so the idea is eagle knows where it's going. It does not check anything around because it's like it evolved in a free environment. So it does not have a context for a giant building going like this. So it does not see that that could be in the pathway. And again, this is from South Africa. They are also having the same issues. So that's how I could verify that, yeah, it's a real thing. And yes, it does affect enough bird that it's a serious thing. Like it's not something that you can just lol. And are there ways of recovering it? Yes, first is moving it out of the ways, like putting it in offshore reduces the impact. And another is like they're coating one of the blade into black. For some reason that creates a pattern that now these birds are like, hey, they do, hey. So they are saying, again, things are there, things are genuine problem and people are working on it. And yes, if Trump says that, wind turbine causes a serious bird damage, and he's absolutely factually perfectly correct. That's why I'm looking into South Africa also, because again, what if he's influencing the reports in America? Who the heck cares about South Africa? So that's why from there. And yes, eagles are being poofed, which again, America's symbol, it's a really not good look. So that's happening. Another aspect is when the blades, the big blades, they chop it off again during decommissioning, they just bury it because they could not figure out anything to do. Again, exactly how happens with Mark 1 product, like how used to just throw away lead acid battery. Then we realized, you know what, it would be better to actually recycle the goddamn thing rather than contaminating the soil with it, lead. So same thing, we do something, okay, this is stupid, let's do something better. So bird damage is factual. Soil pollution that's happening from the just burial of the blades is actually true. So all of them are true. And Trump has a point where it's like mining locally is better for the earth, which is factual, because the reason why many people, especially people who are not diving deep into things, they are just like, oh, let's just everybody drive electric car. It will cause far more pollution. The only benefit would be it's not in your backyard, it's far away. Basically, acid mine drainage is one of the primary penalty of mining, brutal mining, the big, huge mining that humans do. And how long we know that this will go on? For 200 to 300 years. How do we know? There are mines that older during the gold rush and all that, even older than that. And many of them have exposed sulfur layers and elements that should not be exposed that much to the moisture and rain and stuff. And over the years, they made acid. That acid dissolved metals. Again, once you have water, added acid to it, now it can dissolve far more. Now it floods out of there. So that acid mine drainage that happens, it's brutal. Meaning, if it's in a water rich area, you can contaminate the whole groundwater. You can sterilize a river, a big healthy river. If the flow is bad enough, it can sterilize that. Like whole river, poof. And it has happened. America is dealing with this. Like they are literally paying to clean up a mine that has been shut down for a century. It's a normal problem. But here's it. Why the heck people don't know about this? Because it's happening somewhere else. It's happening in China. It's happening in Africa, South Africa. And yes, that's the whole area in South Africa. And again, coal mining is also a very big issue with that. And that's why, if like, what if we just coal mine everything? Yeah, assuming you do not give a damn about environment, you do give a damn that your water is drinkable. This will make sure that your water is no longer drinkable. It's a very, very hazardous, so to say. So that part is fact. Like he was actually talking factually. And again, he saw this in the early days. So there is an aspect of it. Like if you watch something happen in your early days, it becomes your primary memory. You will never tamper with it. For example, if somebody in early years convinces you that Earth is flat, until your death, you will believe Earth is flat. Like nothing can be done. Like, so if you ever talk with someone who is like flat earther, just let it go. Do not waste your time. Just let it go. It's one of those things that is a penalty of human mind. It is what it is. So there are facts, absolute facts, that Mark 1 of everything is garbage, and he's taking a factual data that a lot of, and again, Americans are seeing those wind farms. We are not seeing it, they are seeing it, and they are angry about it. And again, people who give a damn about birds, especially eagles, they are like ultra angry about it. And again, soil pollution is also a minor thing, and mining locally is far better, because again, there is a good chance you will actually give a damn about cleaning the acid mine drainage rather than it's happening somewhere else. So these are facts. Now, he was taking actual data, scientific data, but he was misinterpreting that. But again, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's actually doing it. Otherwise, you cannot bring his supporters to more renewable side. Mark 1 of tech every time is problem. Let that be very clear, very absolute. Let that be very clear. Never, ever, ever in human history believe anything. Oh, they made this, it will be bad. Like I just recently made a 3D printed hot swappable hard drive cage. I'm very happy with that. I made it. I was shocked that it actually worked in first go. But is it garbage? Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done it. It will happen with everything. Something as little as a 3D printed project to as you use a starship. Everything is like that. You have to accept that. That's a way of the world, so to say. So if you are saying, unfortunately, I wrote married. Basically, worse than buried blades, wind turbine blades. What is worse than that? Abandoned oil wells, and there are hundreds to thousands of them in America. And these puppies are far more polluting, not only in terms of methane, which again, methane, everybody is like, yeah, we do not have methane, because even in oil refinery, if they have outgassing of methane, they burn it. You're not supposed to just let methane go in the atmosphere. Surprisingly, everybody is okay with methane burning. Like everybody's like, no, methane is bad, and yes, it is bad. And sulfur oxide, yeah, that is instantly bad. That's also coming out of these abandoned oil wells. Why did the oil wells were abandoned? Same reason as wind turbine. There was a boom, lot of people went into it. Very few company actually had a good plan of it. And once the oil prices become too expensive, basically not oil prices, as in like the supply became limited, they had to be abandoned. Because let's say were these wells active? Absolutely. That's why they are still active. The problem is that, let's assume they are getting you X amount of fuel. That fuel will give you $9 per hour. This machine consumes $10 per hour to run. You're not going to run the machine. That's why all of them were left abandoned. Nobody bothered to seal the pipe, which again, you're supposed to seal it with concrete so it does not leak air. And again, it does consume a lot of concrete, at least one full truck to sometimes 5-6 trucks, some of the deep ones. So nobody did that. So if you're bitching about bearing wind turbines, do not ever open your mouth with oil or gas. They have far worse impacts in all domain: land, water, soil, all of them. Land, water, air. So sorry. So that's there. And even worse than that is like, if you are, hey, the people left it in his bed. Nuclear waste is worse than that. And yes, this is nuclear waste in a water body inside USA. And these are USA's abandoned, nuclear system. And again, that's what I'm trying to get into your head, that can we do nuclear? Absolutely. Can we do nuclear safely? Absolutely. Can we do nuclear cheaply? No. Either you choose it safe or you choose it cheap. Both cannot happen. And that's why nuclear is only safe and suitable for weapons boom devices, nuclear aircraft carrier, those sort of things, because again, they do not have to show ROI. The moment you have to show ROI and you have competition from other sources like wind and solar, yeah, this is going to happen. This is not could be, would be, exactly how it happened. Same way it will happen here. And yes, there are more than enough places contaminated in USA. And again, thankfully, during the later eras of nuclear boom technology, they were like, what if we do it in sea? So contamination happens somewhere else. We learned it the hard way, that can you do this safely? Absolutely. Can you do this cheaply? Heck no. So, and if you are like, oh, wind turbines got an issue, you do not open that mouth. If you ever, and he says like, these are spicy rocks. I'm like, I get it. But these are worst. Let that be very clear. Scientifically, mathematically, economically, in every way, these are worst. So that's there. And another aspect is he's going to do a lot of, basically he's going to clear a lot of the roadblocks that are there against more fracking. Fracking allows USA to become basically a bit more oil independent, especially natural gas independent. Now be mindful, USA is one of the world's largest producer of fossil fuel. Like, wait a minute, then why they buy so much? Yeah, they consume so much more. Their consumption is bonkers, like ludicrously bonkers. Like here's it, Soviet Union finds oil. They are like, okay, let's not consume even 1 liter of it. Let's just sell it everybody. And that's why they built electric railway that early on. Heck, they have electric trams that is not on metal rails. They are what we call trolley buses. They have 2 poles, positive and negative, and then it's running. It's like, it does not make sense. Why would you do that? Oh, they're like, if we electrify everything, everybody's running on let's public transport, we can sell more profit. That was a very unique way of looking at things. But again, they did that. Now, what happened to USA? This is the graph. So this is from 2007, so to say, to 2021. Now, you pay attention to natural gas production. You see the gas well is going down. Now, people are saying USA is making far more gas today than it used to. That's absolutely true. But you have to understand, the supply has gone down. So this shale gas was always there. Back in these era, we also knew there was shale gas. The problem was, it was just not worth to extract it. And again, that was the whole point. It was just too expensive. Another part was, they had few fresh supply. In 1920s, when they already started to discover these things, they were like, we're not going to run out. By the time 1950s came along, they're like printing money. They had new oil wells, new method of discovery, all of those. Gas wells are pumping oil, oil wells are pumping oil, coal beds are printing money. Everybody was swimming. So production goes up, consumption goes up, everything is profitable. And this is the early memory of Trump. And that's why he likes oil and gas. That's why he says it's a black gold. So that's what he saw. That's what he, like, his best memory of the country is in that era. People are printing money in 1980s, 1990s, everybody's YOLO. But here's the deal. What happened? Well, they ran out. That's the whole thing. Every time fossil fuel, you go into fossil fuel, price will always go up. Why? Because it's a known limited quantity. From day one, once we have proper ground penetrating radar and proper other technology, we figured out very early on how much oil and gas is there. So all the gas wells started to dry up, all the oil wells started to dry up, all the coal wells. That's why those levels are going down. It's not that nobody is mining that, it's just not enough. And this time they have to buy it from outside. Penalty of that is price starts to go up. And then there is a crossover. The crossover is this point, 2010, so to say, roughly. So this crossover is like, hey, what if we go back to fracking? Now it's actually viable because fuel prices is high enough. They did that, it works, and now it's like, hey, but here's it, this is just the delayed reaction. It will go through the exact same thing. So if Trump goes all in on it, it's like everybody pump gas, make America cheap again. It's gonna work, no doubt about it. But again, it's gonna be a short-term gain for, let's say, 10 years, 15 years, because be mindful, once you have cheap, you'll consume more. At that point, you're like, we thought it will last 15 years. Then it's like, it only lasted 7 years. And again, price will always go up. So people may run out of money before they run out of resources. So those are two penalties. And it will happen. Be mindful, it has happened. It has happened with their oil wells. It has happened with all the systems. And it will happen to South Africa, Saudi Arabia and all that. It will happen. It's an absolute mathematical fact. It just takes time. And sometimes not that much. USA consumes surprisingly quickly. So that's the whole point. If you're talking about wind problem and all that, the reason why people are so focused on wind and solar and biogas and all those things, those do not go up in price. Fundamentally, they can come down. Again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I could not have even thought about having solar panels. Maybe I could have a small solar panel that charges the emergency lamp. That was the best thing we could have done. Now I have 2 kilowatt solar farm right now. One of my friends, he had a bit more money. He had 22 kilowatt solar farm on his rooftop. He no longer has to worry about electricity. Running air conditioning. Ain't nobody got time for that. So that happened, past tense. That will never happen with this. History teaches us that. Like again, you have a fix, new oil well is discovered, you started to extract out of it. And again, the only reason you are extracting now because it's expensive enough to justify it. So there is misinterpretation. He takes the real world data, he just misinterprets it. But you have to understand, what the world he saw and the hipster brain damage, that again, I can easily see why people will fall for this. And again, it does require you to think through that, abandoned oil wells are also a problem. Abandoned giant radioactive things are also a problem. Figuring out the whole US production is like, we used to think we have so much oil. And again, they did. Mathematically, they did. It's just that they ran out. And again, cell gas, right now printing money, they will run out eventually. And eventually, very quickly. Many of you could be alive and they're just like, yeah, the cell gas is like dead. So there is misinterpretation. That's why people want renewable. We do not want that, what we call treadmill of cost. Now, there are some other facts. Now, Trump is very clear about government bureaucracy. And this, again, you are very lucky as an American that he's a businessman. He's a businessman first. He knows business. He understands business bureaucracy better than anyone else. So that's again, anyone else who is not a businessman. So Trump is very clear about government bureaucracy. And my personal experience is this. And yes, I have linked it down below. This is Mr. Wolf. So there are many great progress has been made. Like, okay, technologically wise, humanity had solved basically global warming by 2020. Like we solved it. We're done. Go home. Sweet dreams. It's done. Solved. It's just bureaucracy that's killing us. So give you an idea. This is I have linked the video and they are talking about like, okay, what's the wind farm issue? It's like, okay, we can move all the wind farm in the offshore. We can paint one of the blades black. We're going to have better. Cool. Awesome. We have a lot of problem. We are making progress. Good. Awesome. And how about energy storage? Now be mindful. People who do not know about nuclear, forget that nuclear is the reason we have energy storage. And right now, if you talk about anyone who is not educated enough, wise enough, they'll say, oh, battery, we have to build batteries. No. You cannot build batteries. You cannot, because again, battery is a chemical engine that degrades very quickly. Even the best designs are like 5 to 10 years. And be mindful, it shrinks in capacity. While if you build a pumped hydro, penalty is round trip efficiencies, right? So let's say you dumped 100 megawatt hour unit into it, and you can only get, let's say, 70. Cool. But here's it will not change. 100 goes in, 70 goes out. That's fixed forever, as long as you can maintain it. And how long can you maintain it? The oldest one is from 1977, still working. So yeah, that's not an issue. You can keep upgrading it. And be mindful, upgrading means your capacity goes up because your efficiency, round trip efficiency can improve. You can go from, hey, we were only 70% efficient. Now, after running that motor generator unit for, let's say, 25 years, rewinding is done, new battery electronics has been introduced, voila, 80% efficiency. Happened, past tense. That's the only thing. And you like add all the world's battery back, it will barely add up to 1 or 2 of pumped hydro storage. Nothing else even comes close. That gives you gigawatt hour capacity. Nothing. And nothing can last that long. And then why don't we do it? We do. This is why this is so funny to me. It's like, this was 2018 and the project was greenlit long before that, and 2018 was the hearing. It's like, why the heck, when we figured it out, like we cannot do pumped hydro normally, like attaching it to a river, because again, that causes biodegradation. So they're cool, awesome. We will not do that. What is the alternative? Closed loop, meaning you create your bottom tub, top tub, have a pipe, done. Cool, awesome, time-tested technology. Why it has not happened? That's where that is. It's like, yeah, we have 40 projects. Lol. I'm like, literally, please watch it. It's like, you will be confused. It's like, are they actually saying what they're saying? And again, they're like, yeah, one government agency grants a, permit, and another fires a missiles at it. Yeah, it's hilarious. So that's why, let me be very clear. Scientifically, if humanity wants to solve global warming, it's a past tense issue. We got the technology. Not one. Let me be very clear. Way too many people assume, oh, one. No. You have to have at least 6 big tools to solve it. Like solar, wind, biogas, closed loop pumped hydro, thermal energy storage from coal power plants, because again, you already built it. Might as well get inertia out of it, and renewables will not work without inertia. So this 5 will take care of your mean power requirement, and again, 1 will not be enough. 5 of them combined will be enough. And another aspect would be your seaweed biofuel. That will solve all the problem, and then it will create new problems for our future generation rather than frying the world. So many great projects have been killed, and doing mining out of sight, and he's very clear about, which is genuinely shocking from a politician point of view, that he actually talked about it. Like, yeah, you are just mining somewhere else. You are not saving the environment. And again, I finally respect him for this, at least openly saying that. He's like, yeah, you're thinking you are cleaning the environment because you are driving your Tesla. No, you're just creating pollution somewhere else. For example, Europeans are like, hey, we have clean water. Yeah, you have clean water because you are pissing in Bangladesh. This is Bangladesh. All the European clothes, where do you think they are being made? The first they were being made in China. They pissed so much, yeah, they cannot drink the water. So they're like, okay, let's go to some other poor countries. So now it's a, Bangladesh's option. And next country in the line is Africa. So yeah. And again, for cheap labor and all that, they are not treating the water. They cannot afford to treat water. Again, they don't want it. If they had to do in Europe, they will be a bit more expensive. But the line must go up. In this regard, I do have to say some Indian companies are doing quite well. They are like, especially with Indra Water's water recycling system. So they have basically denim plant. They are making the water which is contaminated. They are filtering the water directly on the site, and ta-da! So that's a better approach. But again, cost goes bit up. And again, Trump is very clear about that. Like, if you actually saw all the penalty of, especially electric vehicle, that's why I hate electric vehicles. The fact that it's, rather than having series hybrid, which will solve all the problem, we'll just have, what if we have battery vehicle? It's like, you would need huge battery, and it will be expensive, wasteful, and destructive to the environment. Acid mine drainage. You do not want to see what's happening to Congo, and especially with their acid mine drainage. You do not want to see. So fundamentally, this whole idea of mining somewhere else, it's not good for the environment. Like, again, if you care about environment, if you care about country, that's a cheap short-term solution. So out of sight removes the environmental harm for you, but does not remove it for the us planet. Basically, planet still suffers. So that's one of the, and this whole idea of like, oh, EU is so clean and all that. No, because your factories are in China, and China is polluted as hell. It's like, it's just like farting some other room and then coming in a clean room and it's like, hey, it's like, bruh, no. So these are absolute facts. And again, hats off to Trump that he actually said this part out loud. So I do respect that. That's why I freaking hate battery system. Please do series hybrid. Everybody opens their mouth, is like, I know range, I have range anxiety. You're not going to drive more than 50 kilometers. How do I know? Every mapping agency, aka be it transport industry, Google Maps, all that, barely anybody drives 50 kilometers per day. Again, some people do. But again, why? For some people, you are making 100 kilowatt hour batteries. And yes, there are cars that have 100 kilowatt hour battery instead of just 10. Engine, 10 kilowatt hour will only give you a range of like 20-30 kilometers, for more than enough for majority of people. And sometimes when you do need to drive longer, you have the engine. And you do not only get ultra fast supercharging, you will charge it normally like a mobile, slowly charging it. Battery bank is small, you slowly charge it, load on the grid is low. And when you do need that super long range, you have an engine. You good. But but what if we have ultra super hypercharging and then complain that our grid is going down? And pollution, extra pollution, because again, for battery bank of one car, you can have 5 cars with series hybrid, and it will be less polluting. So that's the facts. That's absolutely true. Like having your, basically urine going to somewhere else, having your poop going somewhere else does not mean you are actually clean. You're just removing, out of sight, out of mind. And he said that. I was like, I do respect that. So what can we expect in the future? Now, let this be very clear, especially for people who are liberally minded or something like that. It's like, this should be a clear warning against shallow and very emotional understanding. I do not know, and I personally, from bottom of my heart, hate the individual adults who allowed a freaking child on a, United Nations to talk about, how dare you? It's like, how dare that adult allowed it? Like, what does she know? Like, genuinely, there are 12 and 14-year-old boys who have made fusion a reactor in their homes. They are available in Guinness Book of the Record. There is other boy who was like, swimming in ocean and plastic hit his face, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna clean ocean. And he's actually making tools for that. He's actually succeeding. And then we have this. This is literally just emotion, nothing more than. There is no logic. There's very shallow understanding. Same goes with just stop oil. Imagine all this horsepower was focused on, hey, please, government, allow a seaweed biofuel project for at least 10 years. Because remember, if you do it short term, it will not work. You will need time. And again, getting oil out of it is super easy. Having the continuous cycle, having the increased efficiency, that will take time. Again, Mark 1 is always garbage. You have to have the balls to hold out for Mark 2, Mark 3. By Mark 5, as in like by 11th or 12th year, you will be sorted. But again, that's a long-term project. And you're like, okay, why will do that? Look at this. Look at the fuel price. Look at the fuel price now. Fuel will always go up. Known fixed quantity. And if you want to scare people even worse than this, show price of the petrol pump. This is crude oil price, so it has fluctuates a lot. Show the price of petrol pump is like straight up. So let that be very clear. That's what you sell to the public. Hey, would you like to have a scenario? And then people will complain, oh, it's like, what if like it will affect the biodiversity and yeah, what if you fry the whole planet? Because if you do not take action, that's the alternate. You fry the whole planet. So nothing is perfect. Let that be very clear. Neither solar, neither wind, neither biogas. In combination, they become a very good, healthy tool. And we have to make here's everything we do is just a bit better than the last. First, we had 1G phone. Then we had 2G phone. I'm old enough to use that. 3G phone, 4G phone, 5G phone. That's how you go. And again, like we started with fossil fuel, it wasn't that great. We will create something better. And then we were like, hey, good. So, and again, I do respect Trump never talked about solar. He was like smart. People would roast his ass. And legally, if he said anything bad against, solar. Because remember, California already reached duck curve dipped. That should not be possible. Like 5 years ago, it should not be like digestible to you. Oh, you're telling me that for 3 hours in California, there is no electricity generation needed? Yeah, that happened. Past tense. So he's smart. He's smart. So let that be very clear. Everything is just a bit better. That's how it works. Anytime. And to understand money, especially this sort of thing, always do temporal study. Meaning, do not look into what is 2003. Because again, in short term, you can find ups and downs and it will change values. But look in long enough, you're like, oh, now the trend is very clear. So anyone who's seeking magic options equals nothing. You're not seeking anything. You're just wasting time. That's why I'm saying like only 6 tools can save you. Not if any company can, oh, nuclear will save it. It's like people forgot that nuclear is the reason we have pumped hydro. The best tool we got. How about you use that tool to solve all other tools' problem? And again, just add like you already built so much solar coal power plants. No problem. Convert them into grid inertia. We're gonna need inertia. Having inertia is awesome. Having battery storage, bit inefficient, as in like it's only 30% round trip efficiency. Maybe push to 45%. But again, inertia. You need inertia for grids. Factories cannot work without inertia. So having inertia, good. Stability, good. Energy storage, good. Reusing the old structures, ultra good. So any problem with seaweed, do you have a better solution? And do not say hydrogen, because that will make seaweed biofuel look like pure magic. And again, if you need mathematical answer why hydrogen does not work, 38 megajoule per liter versus 8 megajoule per liter. That's your answer. So this is the future. Basically, never ever have shallow information, like go deep into it and do not let emotions come into it. Because again, if somebody is coming from an actual factual point, again, Joe Rogan did not compensate for him. It's like, hey, dude, you cannot say that burying, wind turbine is the issue when you're okay with nuclear. Because again, that's what we are doing. We are burying things in nuclear scenario, hoping that nobody bothers us or that thing for at least 1,000 years. Good luck. Cooking oil. That was my personal favorite. So this was my presentation on this Trump versus renewable boom boom that is going on. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press twice to show my disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.